All right, so today in the saga of budget pistols that do not suck, I've got a double feature for you because we are going to go over the Stoger STR-9 and the Stoger STR-9MC. So basically the full size and the subcompact versions. These two pistols are some of the most budget-friendly handguns on the market right now, and they seem to be extremely solid, not only in the performance and reliability, but also how they are made as compared to others in this more budget category. Now, these are cloners of Gen 3 Glock designs with some changes, but functionally they are pretty much mechanical clones of a Gen 3 operating system with some different aesthetic and some mechanical differences when it comes to the looks and features in them. They come in optics ready, they come in non-optics ready models, and they are one of the nicer pistols in the budget-minded market today. And although this is an initial review of these pistols, this is also a well over 1,000 round review for both of these pistols, as these are loaners to me from my buddies over at Fully Loaded Reviews, a couple good buddies of mine. They've got several trips to the range with these, and I have put an additional 500 plus rounds through each of these just to ensure they work. So consider this not only the initial, but the well over 1,000 round review. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining for another budget-minded pistol review. I know a lot of people out there are searching for something on a budget, which is why I want to bring up the sponsor of today's video, which is going to be HRT Tactical, supplying you with all of the soft goods for your hard lifestyle at a price you can actually afford. They've got plate carriers, they've got all the front and back placards you want, and they've got a lot of other cool stuff coming very soon. And of course, Brownells. They've been a big supporter of the channel since I started. They help keep all of these things fed out there on the range, and they ensure that I can maintain and upkeep that website where all the parts lists and build lists and codes and all of that stuff are going to be located. That'll be the first link in the description down below if you're interested in doing any of your own research. They're just an awesome company. I'm friends with them. They do a lot for the Second Amendment community. So when you're looking for something or in need, always think Brownells. So exactly what are these two pistols? Obviously, you can see the full-size version as compared to the micro compact, subcompact, slimline, whatever you want to call it, but this is really based on the kind of Glock 43, where this is based on a full-size Gen 3 17. So mechanically, they're Glocks internally, since if you don't know, the Gen 3 Glock patent expired some time ago. That's why you see all of these different pistols that are pretty much exact clones of Glocks. Now, these have some other looks and features thrown into them, which once I say the names of the pistol those came from, you'll probably recognize that right off the bat. These will have the same Glock trigger and striker design on the inside with all of those internal safeties you are used to, whether it's the trigger shoe safety or the internal striker block safety, the plunger safety up in the slide. All that stuff is going to be the same. It's going to have pretty much the same feeling on the trigger as a factory Glock, but maybe just a hair lighter and smoother than the actual factory Glocks do. Now, they will differ in aesthetics from a Glock and some functionality. The STR-9 has a finger groove grip, which Glock went away from some time ago. It's got quite a bit of a different texture to it. It's got a single undercut in that trigger guard, which is actually pretty generous and helpful. It also uses metal magazines instead of polymer coated stainless steel mags like the Glock does. The controls are very similar in design with some changes in dimensions and aesthetics. The back straps here, when it comes to the texture, are much more like the M&P fit and feel and kind of texture. And the slide has much deeper and much more usable slide serrations, much akin to the SDVE series of pistols, if you remember that old Smith & Wesson, which is still quite the large selling pistol today. Across the top, you will also have a loaded chamber indicator on that slide. You get a full pick rail out front, which is awesome for all the attachments you want. And as far as it comes to the weight and the specs and all these things, I'm going to throw it up on screen with a little bit of that elevator music so you don't have to listen to me talk about it. So tell me now that when you see this thing, you don't immediately think Smith & Wesson SDVE from that slide design, because it's like the spitting image of the serrations on that. I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, I noticed something else, and that was the fact that almost 70% of the people here aren't subscribed to the channel. I'm going to look at all the analytics and do that deep dive. So make sure you get subscribed to the channel and make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel. If you haven't been getting the notifications, you should be. It's a huge help to the channel. I would appreciate it. And of course, you'll make sure you get notified when the videos come out so you don't miss something you may be interested in. All right, how about that range performance? And like I said, both of these pistols are loaners from my buddy Kurt and John over at the Fully Loaded Reviews channel. I will link them down below if you're interested. Good friends of mine. They had a lot of time on these things out on the range. I put an additional 500 rounds for them over the past, I think I've had them for like 6 months. I got to give them back soon. But I figured I would do that since it would be the initial and the well over 1,000 round review. So they're well over 1,000 rounds. And I can report back to you from my experience, I had 0 issues with these pistols out there, which is definitely a very good sign, being that we've got a little bit more rounds on them. Now, they will continue to get used. They'll probably do another follow-up. But overall, my upfront experience with these things has been very good, especially for what these things cost and the comparisons to things like the G3, maybe some of the other cheaper stuff out there. And it's really tough once you get in that category to really stand out quality-wise. I ran all the basic ammunition from ball to self-defense stuff through here, all of which cycle without an issue, all the way up to Spear Gold Dot 124 plus P, which is what I run personally a lot, or critical defense, critical duty for my self-defense setups. Out on the range, the recoil impulse on the full size and the subcompact is exactly what I would expect and very easily manageable. On the compact grip, it is pretty short like a Glock 26, so that extended magazine is obviously a big help and feels much better if you have large or larger hands. The 3-dot white sights, they're gonna do just fine for you out there, and at the price point of these things, it's really tough to ask for anything else more. They are a dovetail design. There are plenty of options out there if you want to change them. Now, when it comes to the trigger, it's just fine. It's a striker fired rig. It does feel a little bit lighter than a factory Glock to me. They're gonna do what you need it to do, and since it is a Gen 3 Glock, you might be able to clean it up, deburr it, polish it out, and get it even a little bit better. They do have optics ready version, and overall, the system seems to be extremely solid since it's based on a Gen 3 Glock. And for a price point of right around 299 galactic credits for the non-optics version, which I have here, and just I think about 25 or 40 bucks more for the optic ready version, that is an extremely solid price point. So at that price point, you're really coming in around the Taurus GX3 line, and having owned both of those, I can tell you that these, both in fit, feel, finish, feel so much better than a G3 right out of the box. Although the G3 series has been pretty good to me, I've had several of them. These just feel a higher level of quality to me, both in the build, the steel finish, the polymer, everything just feels better. I think the next thing, kind of quality-wise, both fit and finish, that would be close to these is kind of going to be in that SAR line of pistols. When you get some of their nicer models, that's really where I feel these kind of fit in. And since these are Glock clone designs, let's take a quick up-close look at the triggers, the internals, and of course the breakdown procedure for that routine maintenance. All right, let's get into the inner mechanical workings of the Stoger STR-9 series. We'll go over the factory maintenance and takedown. Of course, do some trigger pulls here in a minute. Takedown for maintenance and parts replacement, it's gonna be the same as a Glock. Drop the magazine, clear out the chamber, point it in a safe direction, pull the trigger, pull slightly back on the slide, down on the takedown lever, push forward, and it comes apart. So looking in here, you can see mechanical clone. The trigger bar, the drop safe ledges in here, the cruciform, the striker block safety, the striker, everything in here is a clone of the Glock setup. So will all the Glock internal parts in here work and work appropriately? Probably not. Okay, a lot of times cloners are a little bit off on spec, so that's one thing you need to take into account. But everything down to the rails, the locking block, the trigger, functionally the same as a Gen 3 style Glock, and will come apart the same way with the original 2-pin design rather than the 3-pin design, because you do have the ability to change out your back straps back here as well. So pretty interesting mechanically, gonna do the exact same thing a Glock would do, and then putting it back together is just as easy as taking it apart. Now, taking a look at the fit in the hand, dimensionally, they are almost exactly the same as Glock, but slightly different, so they don't always work in the comparable Glock holster. Give you a look with that magazine in there, kind of how it fits in the hand. And then the micro is going to be the same way. Takedown is going to be the same. With this version, you will get one flush fit, so you will have your pinky hanging off, and you will have one 13-round extended magazine to give you a little bit more grip on there. It does have finger groove texture, and overall the texture on this version is much more like the sandpaper rough texture, which I think they probably should have used all over all of them, because it is better. You do have some reference points up here. This is more like the texture and points on the G3C from Taurus frame, but then you see you still have those slide cuts that are very reminiscent of the Smith & Wesson SDVE series of pistols. You still get that undercut right there, and then the trigger is going to be the same functionality that the Glock trigger has. Let's go ahead and check this out. There is your take up, right? A little bit of sponge and a break. Here's your reset. Okay, a little bit of sponge and a break. So really similar to the exact way a Glock trigger feels, but I do feel it's a little bit lighter, and I think the gauge is going to bear that out. And we'll just do a couple pulls here. I'll try to get it the same place each time. So 3.3 pounds, so 3 pounds, 3 ounces, excuse me. That's pretty similar to what I've been getting, between 3.5 to 4 pounds. We'll do it again. That one's down at 2 pounds, 3 ounces. I might have pulled a little fast. So we'll do a third one and call it a day. Try to get the same spot, pull at the same speed. Okay, so 4 pounds and 2 ounces. Overall, you can see that's quite a bit lighter than a Gen 3 or Gen 4 or Gen 5 factory Glock. So pretty good overall, in my opinion. It does have a better feel to it, like I said. And even the trigger design has those kind of scallops on the side like the Glock triggers did. But overall, very solid, especially at the price point that these pistols come in at. Let's get into some holster options here, because that's where things can kind of fall apart with pistols. Because if you don't have a holster to carry it around in, it really doesn't do much good for you unless it's going to be a range toy only. So when it comes to the MC right here, that micro compact, it fit perfectly in a couple of my Glock 43X holsters. This one happens to be an Alien gear, but overall fits very nicely in there. It's not going to fall out. Used this out on the range, was good to go. I did try some of my Glock 17, Glock 34, and kind of other variant holsters on the full size, the STR-9, and none of them did work. However, I do have an option if you carry a weapon mounted light like a Surefire or a Streamlight. The Tier 1 MSP holster is pretty much one that I carry a lot out there. I've got a few of them because it allows the pistol to be put in here and it locks and attaches onto the light itself rather than the pistol itself, which means you can put pretty much any modern fired, striker fired, hammer fired, or any other operating system that's out there pistol in here. The thing you do get though is it's a little bit wider to allow all of those different pistols to fit in there, but not by much, because anytime you run a light on a pistol, it's generally going to be a little bit bigger and thicker overall. So if you're looking for that, these are available. They work really well. I've got a couple of them, like I said. I don't have all that information over at the build list. You can do all of your own research and check it all out. And if you are interested in doing some range work, some outside the waistband, you can't find a holster that fits, there's another holster that I use all the time out there. It is the Black Hawk Omnivore holster. It's a multi-fit holster as well. And again, it locks onto the light, whether you're carrying a Surefire X300, Streamlight TLR1 series, and they do also have a rail attachment. So it's not a duty holster. It does have a locking mechanism. I've had the same one for, I want to say, close to 3 years. It works great. Still have it. It's beat to death and it's still working just fine. And it's really cheap. Like, I want to say like 60 bucks or something like that. All right, so is there anything wrong with it? Do I have any concerns about functionality, quality, all these things? Because we all know that nobody gets a free pass here on the channel. I've got no relationship with Stoger at all. I've never talked to them. Like I said, these were loaned to me by my buddies. My only concern with these pistols, since they're imported and not as popular as other things, is parts availability. Now, they are clones of Gen 3 Glocks, but I don't know how good of a clone they are. So I don't know if every part's gonna intermingle in there nicely from like a Gen 3. So sometimes when you get cloned pistols, the pistol they were cloned from, in this case, the Gen 3 Glock, don't always work in there. So that can be a pain in the butt. However, I've not heard of any real problems with these pistols. And when I've gone on the forums and kind of looked around, it seemed to be always narrowed down when someone had an issue like stovepipes or failure to eject, failure to extract, something like that. When somebody finally asked what ammunition when you were using, they responded they were using some version of Bubba Down by the Rivers reloads that they've been shooting for years and have never done them wrong. And then when you shoot factory ammo through the gun, it seems to perform just fine. So always check your reloaded ammo. If you're not making that stuff yourself and you don't have the skill, get it from a reputable source. Not a big bag that looked like a Ziploc bag at a gun show by some dude that has less teeth. then he should. That's probably not gonna end well. The one thing I will kind of nitpick here is going to be that grip zone Gen 2 kind of Mod 2 style of texture on there. Just give me the good texture all the way around that pistol, everywhere my hand fits it, so I can get a good grip and control the recoil, because all this space in here is left open. There's no grip texture at all, and changing from one texture to another up here in the front just doesn't make any sense, and it kind of looks like the old grip zone texture, which nobody out there liked. So I would have liked to have seen just better texture all the way around that grip, and I think that would have been far better, both in looks and help you control this thing as far as the recoil impulse out on the range. As far as anything else on this pistol, I don't think we can really complain for that price point of $299 for the standard, and I think like $340 or $350 for the optics ready version. If you think about like late 2024, this is December of 24 and I'm filming this, everything has gone through the roof as far as prices and everything from manufacturing, raw materials, taxes, labor costs. So I think that is really solid. Just make sure you use good quality ammunition out there. You guys keep doing it on range. Get subscribed to the channel. If you're looking to support the channel in any way, check out the website, all the affiliate stuff over there. The Patreon is linked down below. Keep doing it out on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, make how to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.